Hello, you are watching The Risky Report with Miles Kristen. Today I am joined by Make Keen and Marcus John, and we are going over the Terminator franchise. This is a franchise that has spanned almost 40 years now, and so we'll be going through them in mostly chronological order. So let's start off with Terminator 1.
Does this movie series even have a chronological order anymore?
That's a great point. Yeah, because the last couple just say the hell with all the rules of everything.
Mm-hmm. It's retconned, and that's been retconned, and then that's also been retconned. So,
And the guns have been replaced with walkie-talkies.
Terminator 1. Terminator 1's interesting because it's like you got naked Arnold Schwarzenegger, naked Linda Hamilton. I think the creepiest part is when he's like his eyebrows get burnt off, and he's like, just there's nothing creepier than Arnold Schwarzenegger, no eyebrows. But for an '80s movie, like, this was pretty damn awesome. I mean, I'd think probably one of Arnold had done a couple of sci-fi movies around that time, like Running Man and Predator. I would say this is definitely his best sci-fi movie.
It's an absolute treat to see James Cameron working with such a low budget compared to his later films.
Yeah. I was going to say, I feel like Terminator 1 is like how to make the best movie with a small budget versus Terminator, like the opposite, how to make an amazing movie with a gigantic budget. But yeah, Terminator 1, it's so good because of how simple the sets and really effects are, but they're executed so perfectly. That's just like, it's the most brilliant thriller that I can think of. And this was all before Schwarzenegger became this action star. He had a couple movies before this, but he wasn't a big movie star until really the Terminator. That's what people realized. Hey, this is an unstoppable force. He can actually act in certain roles. And yeah, I mean, it launched countless careers, really.
So now Terminator 2. I mean, here we are, possibly one of the best sequels, especially to an action movie. I mean, it made there wasn't really many plot holes, I would say, in this. I mean, Evil T-1000, an amazing villain. It always got to me, though. Part of the plot of number 2 is they had to go into Cyberdyne and get like the microchip in the arm that was like left by the original Terminator. But if you think about it, in the very end of the movie, the second Terminator, his arm gets caught in another machine, and so when he melts away at the end, it's like it's everything of his body but except an arm. So there's still another arm that's going to be possibly retrieved
3 movies down the line.
Eddie Furlong. I mean, this is really the one of only 2 times he's technically in the Terminator franchise.
He was in rough shape, but by the end, or 2003 when Rise of the Machines came out, I think he was. I don't know. I don't want to talk bad about Mr. Furlong. I'm sure he went through the ringer from what I heard, but
yeah, he's had his struggles. Now,
Judgment Day is such a huge, like, this is like the blockbuster. I'm looking at these clips right now, and like, this is the blockbuster that everybody wanted to make after it came out. There's so many shots and tropes that I've seen ripped off so many times, and it's in a weird way, it's just as influential as the first, whereas the first was a great, groundbreaking, influential film for sci-fi thrillers, sorry, with like low budgets, but that Terminator 2 is like the epitome of like what an 80s blockbuster could be. Just high octane rock and roll, awesome effects.
I gotta point out this toy car for Terminator, he never had a toy car. They just like made that up. Like, I think he drove around in a station wagon or a pickup truck or whatever car he could steal. I remember back in the 90s, you could actually get this makeup thing for Halloween where you would put plastic on your face and a little bit of fake skin and like silver makeup. Like, you could do a Halloween. Terminator 2 inspired so much different like toys, Halloween costumes.
I have a question for you guys because I wasn't super conscious when it came out, but the first half an hour of that movie builds so brilliantly because you still think that Arnold's the bad guy. There's nothing way until that final confrontation where they have the little shootout, and he protects Eddie Furlong and gets the bullets in the back. You think that Arnold's the bad guy and, T-1000's the good guy. So did they keep that like a secret before the movie was coming out with the marketing? Was that,
Ooh, that is a good question.
Or was that, kind of, because how trailers, they give away everything nowadays. I wonder if it was obvious that, oh, hey, Arnold's the good guy now.
Terminator 2, I want to say, came out in 91, and that was like still pretty pre-internet. Like, you didn't have internet buzz at that time. Terminator 2 was totally like, I'm a guy in my mid-30s, like, Terminator 2 was totally the movie that, like, your dad took you to go see that mom maybe didn't want you to see. And I gotta talk about this. Okay, so this video game...
Was this for Super Nintendo?
I mean, they made it onto all sorts of systems, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I'm talking, this game in the arcade was the coolest game ever.
It looks sick.
It's still in a lot of bowling alleys. I see it all the time. It's a classic.
I mean, the Terminator 2 arcade game, it had like literally that gigantic toy gun on it, and it shook. It was, I mean, we're talking, I want to say pre-Nintendo 64 with the Rumble Pack. I mean, the gun itself, would shake and everything. And so when I was 19 years old, I owned a youth pool hall. Like, we had, we didn't have any alcohol. We had a few pool tables, and we had about a handful of arcade games, and one of them was this one, Terminator 2. And even though I ended up losing like 15 grand on the venture, the thing that made it so worth it was this right here. So we opened up the arcade game where you put in the coins and everything. We realized there's a pin that the coin would hit, right? So we would just put like 700 credits on the game.
Oh my god!
And here's the craziest part. So me and a bunch of people, we're playing the game for like 3 straight hours, getting to this final ending where you have to shoot evil T-1000 into the lava and everything. Well, okay, so finally we shoot evil T-1000 enough times, and he falls, and he dies, and we're all just like cheering, like, hell yeah, we beat the game, it's over. And then we don't even realize there's a whole additional level beyond this that like we weren't ready for, and it was like boom, 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 we're dead.
Yeah.
And we didn't have enough credits in it at the time, and then so we had to start all over again. And a few days later, we went into it. We freaking spent hours and hours, finally surpassing the evil T-1000 again, finally beating the entire game.
Hell yeah!
I really want to call that number. Just saying.
1-900-773-T2T2-A2A2.
Well, this is the craziest thing in my research of the franchise. I came across this, and I'm like, what in the hell is this? Best part, it's from Omaha, Nebraska in part. Okay.
Omaha.
I don't even remember this sort of thing, right? So it's a phone game. It makes no sense. Here it goes.
We've got to destroy the T-1000. Come on.
Call 1-900-773-T2T2. Play the T2 telephone game and help John Connor destroy the T-1000.
I've got to get to the lab to destroy the computer chip. You've got to help me.
Successfully complete your mission, and you could win an endoskeleton hand, Midway's T2 video arcade game.
Yeah, that's
and
the
more.
machine. Oh, and it was on Game Boy too.
$1.45 each additional minute. Under 18, get your parents' permission. Touch tone only.
You've seen the movie. Now play the telephone game.
I barely remember those things from the 90s.
The Batman series, I remember having a lot of commercials like that when I was a kid in the 90s. In the old 1990s.
So first, and the low budget, I mean, as far as companies, I've never heard of those two companies that made Terminator 3. So it's okay, early 80s, you got Terminator 1, early 90s, you got Terminator 2. Now this is 2003, Claire Danes, and there's not Eddie Furlong.
Nope, it's not.
This is Terminator 3 reminds me of the Lethal Weapon series, how each one of the Lethal Weapon movies went less and less serious and more of a comedy. Mm-hmm. And that's the way I look at Terminator 3. It's instead of him going in the Harley Barley, biker bar, he's walking into a gay bar with some and he comes out with wearing some Elton John style glasses and so forth.
Yeah, it's very campy.
Super campy. This and the evil robot lady, basically she wears that red suit the whole time, and now she's got a laser gun inside of her hand. And oh yeah, and how did Sarah Connor die? Oh, she died of cancer. It's like, what?
Mhm.
Still follows the same premise of like Skynet, but and the whole thing takes place over one day basically, and it's like, oh yeah, Skynet still happens, Judgment Day still happens, but you got to go out to the Skynet Central to survive and everything.
I'm just surprised Tango and Cash aren't in this movie.
So early 2000s, Terminator 3 was pretty bad. Then later that decade is when we get Terminator Salvation.
Which is my third favorite Terminator movie after
It takes
careful
place in
consideration.
2018. I did not realize that. Holy shit.
Yeah, it takes place in 2018. Yeah, the war.
Christian
Nope.
Bale.
Christian Bale and
Good for you.
Christian Bale and Ron Howard's daughter, along with Common.
Oh, you know who's in this movie? The late Anton Yelchin.
Yeah.
Yes,
And-
and he plays John Connor's father.
He was never bad in any movie.
Blue
The movie
Ruin's
might
a
have
good
been bad,
one.
but he was never bad. He was fantastic.
100% agreed. I don't think the movie was that bad, honestly. I think it's not what people wanted, but in
It's way
retrospect,
better than 3.
it's better than 5 and 6 too. I mean, in retrospect,
Yeah.
This part was
the
sick.
closest,
This part was
but
so sick.
yeah, I mean, it's so different from what people were used to with Terminator movies, which is what the series needed, but people rejected it, and I think it's a shame, frankly. I would love to see what they would have done with the franchise if they kept going with, Salvation.
I'll give them this. Like, this one doesn't deal with any time travel. It's just the future, and it is probably as close to Terminator 2 in that, like, that dark, gritty, here's the post-apocalyptic Terminator world.
And it looks great, frankly.
There
It's
were
like
a
Mad
lot
Max. It looks great.
There were a lot of great action scenes in it. I think it just kind of got strange when the whole like guy, he didn't understand that he was a robot, and then he goes to Skynet, and like, why are the Skynets? So this actually led to this Terminator Salvation series, which
Was this show only available on the GameCube?
It's the funniest thing is you could pay $2 an episode on Amazon to watch this, or you can find the whole series for free on YouTube. But it's not exactly a cartoon. It's just like, it looks like the in between of a video game.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I've never even heard of it too.
Yeah, it's the Salvation. I don't even know how you pronounce that. Machina series.
It went too fast because it doesn't want you to pronounce it.
And then, all right, after Salvation is right around the same time as Salvation is when we got the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Just call them the Sarah Chronicles. It works better.
It was painfully boring. This was, of course, a Fox show that lasted like 2 seasons. I have tried my best to go through them. There are several Terminators. There's like in it, and there's like one where there's like a Terminator, and he's like building human skin over his Terminator body, and
it got a second season. That's shocking to me. Even
this looks like the Lethal Weapon show.
It's
or like 24, or like just I don't know. It's just some.
Worse. And of course, she has to do the "come with me if you want to live" line. Like they start off, and somehow they I think they have found a time machine that they were like storing at a bank or something, and then they right there, they transport to the future. They actually come up on a highway naked, which is funny because that's what happens in Genesis. And so this is late 2008 2009 time, and then we get Genesis, which is just like, to hell with every rule, let's watch this crap.
I think that's universally I don't know, I mean, then 3 is pretty. The more I watch 3, the more I hate it, but I think people universally think Genesis is by far the worst. And it's not quite, it's almost bad enough to be schlock, but it's just not, and that's like that's the worst part about it.
There are so many weird things about Genesis, because it's like, it kind of shows that like future, to the level of like what we saw in Salvation, except more of a Terminator 2, like flashes of the future. Kyle Reese goes from being, big guy to little guy to being a big guy again. And Genesis, I don't even know where to start to, pull apart what's wrong with
Well,
Genesis.
turning to John Connor, who they're pretending has been this iconic character of the franchise, who he's just not. I mean, Christian Bale is the closest he's been, I guess Eddie Furlong, to the main character. But it's about Sarah Connor and I don't know, strong female characters. But just to try to shoehorn him into a villain role for the shock value, out of nowhere, that plot still makes no sense to me. It was just trying to be
Cheap.
edgy and
Nanobots.
they're grasping at straws upon straws. It just doesn't. I can't think of a bigger mess. Just a mess of a movie.
Yeah, there's so much like nanotechnology. That's gonna be a thing, like nanobites, and
NFTs.
oh god, and I can't remember the name of the guy. He was from the guy from Spider-Man, who played the boss. He's basically like this. He's a cop in it, and he knows the Terminator exists, and he's been following the Terminator. And there's just like the, here are these guys are from Homeland Security, and here's this cop who knows about the Terminator.
Yeah.
And so this one scene in it, which like it's amazing. There's one scene in it when the two of them are battling it out. I'm gonna play some audio from that in a second. Oh, and this part, of course, like, oh look, now Terminator is a missile.
Mm-hmm.
But what in Salvation we saw them like briefly, do a young Arnold. And in this, this is actually recreating the scene from the first one. And it shows us, like, oh, we don't need old Arnold at all, actually, by this point. They could make all of these movies with CGI Arnold, and it works fine.
Rest in peace, Bill Paxton.
Rest in peace, Bill Paxton.
Oh, it's such a good scene. And yeah, I agree. I mean, there's plenty of Easter eggs. I'll give it that. It's definitely trying to do the fan service thing, but it's just... I don't know. I'll admit it's the only Terminator movie I've only seen once, and yeah.
This is actually the most expensive one to find, because if you have HBO and Netflix and all the platforms, this is the only one you really have to rent.
I guess they tried to bury it. I mean, that's Dark Fate kind of feels like they just
Okay, so I got to get to this one point in this battle scene. All right, so first off, why didn't she just have the 50 cal ready to go? Why even have them battle it out, right? I mean, they're just going to snipe them in the end. But here's the best part. So, and I think you come to realize later that this is Sarah Connor, right? And so she's, she hasn't even packed up the rifle ready to go to take out the Terminator yet. She's kind of waiting and everything. And they knew exactly where he was going to be somehow. But this is the best part right here. She shoots him. Yeah. She shoots him in the heart, and that stops the Terminator. It's like, wouldn't she shoot him in the head where the circuitry would be? Like, I don't get that part.
I mean, obviously, the Terminators have a sense of humor and wanted to ironically give themselves the same weak points as their, human counterparts for the T-series, which are supposed to be human.
You did the thumbs up.
Okay, and now the saddest of all. And I think what really made me, like, we knew this movie was going to suck, and, like, the fact that they had to use Bjork. Like, okay,
what is this?
This is Dark Fate. It's like, hey, let's take a Bjork song and get somebody else to sing it and do it really slow. Like, that's a thing now with movies.
It's a huge thing.
We're going to take classic 90s songs and just make them really slow,
Or old children's songs.
What did you guys think of Dark Fate?
I have never seen this movie. I don't know what the hell this is.
I saw it in theaters, and I really go back and forth.
I've got a buddy of mine who we knew, like, we were just texting each other every time a new commercial came out. We're like, this is going to be the worst piece of crap ever.
It's bad. It's not Genesis bad, though. I'll say that. It's got, I don't want to say heart, but I don't know. Whereas Genesis just feels like it's completely, like, it feels like an AI, like Skynet, like, wrote through artificial intelligence a Terminator movie. Whereas I feel like Dark Fate, at least they tried to, like, I don't know. Sarah Connor's got some fun scenes and lines, and I think the way they handled Arnold was actually good, actually. Like, this whole part where they go to the cabin, it doesn't make any sense at all how he becomes like a family man. But you know what? It's a little different, at least. And then you get all the Terminator stuff. But like, it's trying, I guess. There's a little more effort and soul than
Mid-air
3
battle
and Genesis, for sure. I like it better than 3 and Genesis. Sorry, go ahead.
Mid-air battle is now a part of the Terminator series, and I love how they had to have a bunch of people on top of a train, as if that's really a thing. Like, as if people in Mexico are riding around on the tops of trains like that, like it's 1960s India or something. It's Terminator versus Genesis. They're both bad in their own way. I mean, Genesis is so like crazy, but okay, it starts off with the post-apocalyptic, the wars happened, and then we go into spoiler alert, John Connor dies, and they do a very like buff, like Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And then there's Eddie Furlong,
That scene looks amazing, by the way. I don't know how they did that. It looks fun. I've never seen like de-aging or, because obviously it's not really Eddie Furlong, or maybe, maybe they had old footage. I don't know how they did that, but it's seamless.
Had only they done this for The Irishman, that would maybe have made The Irishman somehow better, the de-aging. But yeah, and so, and he walks away, John Connor's dead. So just, the entire series, I mean, I think I have to blame Donald Trump in the end, because this whole entire Dark Fate movie is just like Hollywood's like, okay, so there's political stuff going on. How do we make Terminator super, super political?
Yeah.
Everything
about it. Yeah, that whole border stuff is like, it's very
the villain,
on the nose, I guess.
The villain is a border patrol agent. Also,
that's right. Dang.
And look, there's a bicycle going through the factory and then also like, a paper bag can now become a gun. So like, the hell with the rules set up, like you can't have a gun in the robot. Now you can. And yeah, the border patrol, the evil robot is a border patrol agent. It's all about female heroes. This is like the female action movie that women never asked for, never wanted. This is nobody asked for any of this, and like, I can't remember how the little, new John Connor girl, like her brother dies, and it's very like, I don't even remember how he dies, but like first the dad gets shot in the factory, then the brother's in the car chase, but he dies somehow. It's so unrememberable, and then Sarah Connor shows up, and then there's this weird plot line of like half Terminator girl who was human, but she's got the nanobot technology. She needs to be injected with some sort of like serum to keep up her robot rate or whatever. I don't know.
Right. But I mean, the Terminator, to its credit, not to be a Dark Fate apologist, which I'm increasingly becoming in this podcast. The whole idea of two different protectors, Sarah Connor, who's now super hardened, plus this like Terminator who Sarah Connor can't trust because she's like half Terminator, blah, 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 blah. Having those two Terminators kind of fighting against each other to protect this girl, that's at least an interesting concept. And they don't even bring Arnold into the movie until about an hour and a half in, which I thought was bold. And I don't know. For me, it just boils down to, they were like, hey, remember everything that happened after T2? Forget it. We're retconning all of it and starting over after T2. And I was like, thank God you should have done that after T3. So for that and that alone, it gets a few points in my book. Maybe unfairly.
Okay, so Sarah Connor has been getting text messages from a mysterious person who informs her where all the Terminators are as they're coming into the timeline, and she's off killing them, and and then okay, so finally, they cross the Mexican border, they get caught by Border Patrol, they get out, now they go into Texas, and they find Arnold, and well, he goes by the name Carl, and he is a drape salesman, which like, okay, wait, he kills John Connor, he goes and lives a normal life as a human, he meets a woman, gets married, which brings up a whole set of odd questions, but and then
but it's fun.
Wouldn't you think he'd be like more of a construction guy or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't even remember the drape salesman thing. Is that like a joke because he's so boring? It's like so like stoic.
I mean, it just
That's
and
kind
then
of funny.
and then his wife comes out like, "Hey, everybody, have a beer." Like, I don't know who all you strange people are, and
So fucking weird.
Well, they kind of explain. I mean, they explain it as simply as they could, which is the best option. Which was just like, yeah, she wasn't looking for a man. Like, she wasn't looking for sex. She just wanted like a man to take care of her and her son and make her feel safe, which he could provide. Which is like kind of sweet and stupid and simple, but
and
I didn't hate it.
of course, Arnold's been setting up this target practice range all these years with all these guns, and learning how to shoot a big, gigantic gun is just as simple as Sarah Connor saying, "Imagine the Terminator just killed your whole family," and now she knows how to target practice. By the way, I almost got to zoom back to that for a second. Those gigantic machinery there, like, okay, if in reality, if I shot that thing off, or if that girl shot that thing off, the kickback would just knock you on the ground. Like, those are huge. Like,
Are we really nitpicking the kickback of a gun as far as the Terminator franchise believability is concerned?
I mean, the time travel thing I get, but the kickback is just, a little too
Took me out of the
hard.
movie. I can't do that.
Unforgivable.
Okay, and then so Sarah Connor's like, "Oh yeah, I know this guy in the military. He's just gonna like willy-nilly give me an EMP because apparently like EMPs just fit inside of a little briefcase."
Yeah, that was dumb.
I want to say somehow they end up at the Hoover Dam. I don't know if they mentioned that it's the Hoover Dam, but it's most definitely the Hoover Dam.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only, if you're talking about a great movie with the Hoover Dam, yeah, there's the EMP that just fits inside of a little briefcase, as simple as that. When I think of movies with the Hoover Dam in it, I got to think of National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation, which is where Randy Quaid, the tour guide's like, "This is the dam, and this is where the dam gets all the power," and Randy Quaid's all like, "Yeah, where do we get some damn bait?"
Oh, Randy Quaid, you psychotic actor, thespian.
And
we got to do an episode on the vacation movies.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the children change like every time.
That's the best part.
Now,
hilarious.
So the one thing that this mid-air collision shootout is missing is like what they should have had. I was gonna say, you know what you really need is Vin Diesel to drive like a Grand Am or Trans Am through one car plane into the other.
Rock and roll.
But of course, they end up like all getting out of the plane and then into a Humvee, and there's the Hoover Dam, and
the dam that never sleeps.
I mean, I don't know if that's the same one from GoldenEye, maybe. I don't know, but
no. The dam that Pierce Brosnan jumps off of is in like Russia.
Okay, yeah. And it didn't.
Severnaya, I believe it's the according to my N64 GoldenEye video game.
Hell yeah.
You're right though. I totally forgot that Terminator like mid-air action scene has become a bit of a trope since I guess the second one they do have the helicopter stuff.
Well, that was pretty much just that one little thing with the helicopter at the end. It's him, bad guy, riding the helicopter, and
true. Yeah, it's not quite.
The third one, they crash a plane into Skynet or wherever it was.
Right.
And then of course, Salvation's got some action.
Has a lot of vehicle stuff.
Yeah, helicopters and so forth. Okay, so last couple minutes. Best Terminator, worst Terminator movies.
I go so back and forth on 1 and 2, honestly. If I want, sorry, go ahead.
I'm gonna go with best is Terminator 2.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. 1 or 2 for me. I think my least favorite one has to be Rise of the Machines because I don't think I didn't see Dark Fate, so this movie it's kind of weird looking at these clips, but I really liked Salvation though. Like if I had to throw a sleeper in, I would say Salvation's a pretty dope Terminator movie.
For me, Salvation's one of those ones where like I'll watch it 5 or 6 times. Like, oh, no, maybe this time is the time I like it. Maybe it's gonna work out this time. It can make more sense.
I guess I'll be a contrarian. I think 1. I'll put it this way. I think 2 is the better movie, but I think 1 is just infinitely rewatchable. It's just the perfect kind of bite-size action, sci-fi, horror all in one. And yeah, my least favorite, I probably got to say, I think Genesis is worse overall because it just doesn't make any more sense. But Terminator 3, as a Terminator fan, ticked me off more, and I have more gripes with it. So yeah.
I would say that Genesis is terrible and that like nothing adds up. The plot is all over the place. It is already saying to hell with every previous movie. Terminator's terrible, or Terminator Genesis is terrible in that way that it's just like, screw all the rules, and hey, no, this is a new timeline. And I remember when they were saying that they're coming out with Genesis, they were saying they were starting a new trilogy. So Genesis was supposed to be the first of 3, and then Dark Fate doesn't even add. Yeah, Dark Fate doesn't even add up with Genesis and that whole crazy John Connor infested with nanobite, whatever. But for me, Dark Fate pissed me off the most because it was just like, here's John Connor's dead. Yeah, it's just screw your whole. We're going political with this one.
Interesting. I respect that choice. Yeah. The thing is, when Terminator Dark Fate came out, everyone was saying, "Oh, it's the best Terminator since T2." And I think 2 years later, or whatever it is, a year and a half later, I think people are realizing how forgettable it was, and I think it's going to get lost similarly to Genesis.
James Cameron didn't have anything to do with these recent ones, did he? He hasn't been involved in a while.
I think he was a producer on Dark Fate. I think he had some involvement.
Which is funny that Sarah Connor was in Dark Fate, because I think by the time 3 came around, she was out. I mean, keep in mind, I can't remember when she married James Cameron. If it was pre or after the first, couple Terminator movies. But, I mean, they were married and got divorced. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, she didn't want to work with James Cameron anymore.
Well, he wasn't doing Terminator 3, though. I mean, he was like, he started working on Avatar at that point, I think.
Just another couple decades and we'll have that second Avatar movie.
Ugh. Most overrated movie of the century.
And it's like, I love James Cameron movies. Like, I'd be down to go see a James Cameron movie. I just don't want to go see Avatar 2. I fell asleep during the first one.
Thank you. God, I don't.
Give me the Abyss or something. Like, I don't know. Fuck.
100%.
Or Aliens? Oh,
true
man.
Romance at this point.
Yeah.
All right. Final thoughts. Best actor or actress to be in the series. Favorite moment of any of the movies. I mean, when you think of Terminator, what is like, one of the things that just really stands out to you?
I think both performance and scene. I'll just say Linda Hamilton in the hospital in T2 when she's freaking out and screaming. Oh God, it's so good. It's one of the best performances I think of all time, and she makes T2 especially for me.
Totally. That's an awesome scene. For me, it would have to be Linda Hamilton again at the end of Terminator 1. The closing scene.
Driving in Mexico. Good
also, choice. Anton Yelchin in Salvation, R.I.P.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to actually say the worst actor, and I actually think he's a good, musician, artist. Common, great as Common makes good music, but like his role in Salvation, it's like I can't take this seriously. Like this is just like, it's like when you see the guy from Third Eye Blind in that Mark Wahlberg band movie, Superstar or whatever. Rockstar, yeah. It's just like, wait a minute, come on, this is too like silly. But Terminator 2 was definitely my favorite, and it was like, that was like the movie in the 90s. Like you saw it at the outdoor movie theater, and definitely the hospital scene. As silly as it was that they ran into the metal foundry or whatever it is, like, yeah, when he shoots them into the, and then it's like Arnold's like, you got to drop me in now too, and it's like, no, you can't go. Like, I effing loved that. Like,
yeah,
and for all the rest of the movies, I'm just like, I'll watch it a couple more times. Maybe it'll get better. And even with Dark Fate, I'm like, no, that one's not getting any better. I saw it once, and I'm like, no, there's no way. Like Dark Fate or Salvation looks better and better every time I see Genesis or bits of Dark Fate.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, my classic, my go-to isn't even the movies in the end. It's that goddamn arcade game.
Yeah, that arcade game is sick.
A
Beautiful piece of machinery.
Beating the Terminator 2 arcade game was worth every penny of the thousands of dollars I ran running a crappy pool hall arcade game. It's like, what did I get out of it in the end? I beat Terminator 2 arcade game.
Can't put a price on that.
All right. This concludes the Whiskey Report. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Check out Marcus John's. How would people find out about your work?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not really a big self-promoting guy. If you are in New York and you need to hire an actor, you can go to marcusjohn.net. couldn'tget.com to see my body of work. I'm not a big social media guy, but feel free to follow me at Marcus McJahn, Jahn, on Instagram.
And Mick Keane, musician who wears many hats. Tell us something you're working on right now.
So right now I'm working with this record label in Brooklyn, New York, where people were able to order one of my songs for me to record, stripped down, just me and my guitar for them, and then that recording gets cut onto vinyl out in Brooklyn and then gets sent to you. So it's your own personalized vinyl recording, and I got like 50 of them to record, so that's what I'm knee deep in right now. I'm also the station manager for Corsair Radio, which is on air every day 24/7, and you can find Corsair Radio if you follow me on Instagram. My name on there is Makes Keen, and yeah.
How do you spell that?
MAKES and then KEENE.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening.